Here we go. Good morning. How are you feeling on this bright, exciting day, the first of the rest of all time, and your time, which is the only time you know? I'm glad you could join me for a moment of reflection before you venture out to face the challenges of the day. Yes, challenges, not problems. Oh, I know sometimes each day feels like a battle and you're just one of the infantry marching out helplessly into the fray. Well, chin up, soldier. Here I am, ready to hand you your sword and shield and send you on your way. Watch it now. That's a sharp blade you've got there. You could put someone's eye out. When the world is rushing to condemn and you don't feel you're ever good enough for them, no need to fret, you just forget it and remember you're the crème de la crème when you're with Lady M. Can you see me okay? I can see you. Oh yes I can. I know who you really are. Listen, I get it. I get that you think you're always a fail. Maybe only by a couple of marks, but still never quite a pass. You hate your wrinkled arse and the spot on the end of your nose. You hate the way your hair grows. None of your clothes seem to fit. Your job's a bitch. You've had enough of it. Your house is a mess. Even your dreams are full of stress. Well, stay strong. Lady M is in the room. And together we'll be okay. Today is going to be a better day. When the leaves are dropping off your stem, when all the stitching started popping on your hem, I'll bring nutrition to your roots, I'll be your seamstress, no stress, glimmer like a gemma when you're with Lady M. So before I sign off, let's all shut our eyes, shut out the chatter, wherever you are, standing or sitting, it doesn't matter. And remember today's words of wisdom. Reach high, for the stars lie hidden in your soul. Dream deep, for every dream precedes the goal. Wise words indeed from American poet Langston Hughes, or possibly Pamela Wall-Starr, or Mother Teresa, or Rabindranath Tagore, S Club 7. The internet is a little vague on this point, but still, the sentiment holds true. Now, don't overthink those wise words. Let them settle on you like snow, sink into you through your pores, dissolve into your bloodstream and become part of your very you-ness. And while that's happening, I'm going to pose today's quintessential question. And our quintessential question is, what's wrong with you? Because sure as eggs, my friends, something isn't right. You want more. A bigger house, nicer holidays, a more impressive job. You want different. Sleeker hair, longer legs, clearer skin. You want things you don't even know you want. Those voices sniping at your dress sense, your resting bitch face, your inadequacies and imperfections, they're not the rest of the world. They're you. You are holding you back. The stars lie hidden in your soul. You might be in your 30s, your 40s, your 70s, your 90s before you realise this, and that's fine. It's never too late. Well, you know, if your deepest dream is to be an Olympic long-distance runner, there might be an issue with the clogged arteries and the bunions, but you can always do a little bit more, and you can always do a little bit new. So see you again soon, and don't forget, you're the crème de la crème when you're with Lady M. Evening, troops. You made it safely home. You know what? I missed you, here all on my own. Shh, I'll tell you a secret, if you promise to keep it. I never bothered dreaming deep. There didn't seem any point. Average student, a klutz at sports. I bit my nails, I had eczema and warts. Never picked for the netball team. Never picked for a date. At school reunions, people forgot my name, even my best mate. By the time I started work at Hannigan's, my biggest goal in life was for someone, pretty much anyone, to ask me to be his wife. The thought that someone might be bothered enough to ask, that was the depth of my dream, the height of my stars. Hannigan's. God, that was a weird place. I mean, department stores are all weird, aren't they? Like a trace of the past when genteel, high-collared spinsters offered trays of scented gloves and jewelled hat pins to big-hatted ladies. I mean, Hannigan's did its best to keep up with the times, but it was mutton dressed as lamb. Painted over the panelling, had the tea room renamed Coffee Corner, billed the Nescafe as Americano. All the same, nobody was fooled, and nothing more was sold except to old regulars who'd always been old. The place was a creaking wasteland, with a lot of dead space and assistants like me, looming every now and then out of haberdashery, then vanishing again. God, I was bored. All I had for company was the Hannigan Hags. Hetty from kitchen utensils, Sissy from customer service, and Winnie from consumables. They all worked in adjoining departments, and 2 or 3 times a day they'd appear with their bitchy gossip and unwelcome advice.
The Hannigan Hags, a trio of plastic-sized bags who see only doom and gloom, filling the room with a dreary fog of theories based on the fall from grace of the fresh young faces who don't know their place or the rules of propriety in this department store society. The Hannigan Hags, tut-tut-tut celebrity mags, consulting the runes of rumour, always presuming guilt. This gang of hangers and floggers, lost in a boggy, soggy mist of nostalgia for something that never existed, nodding with pleasure at national treasures and pursing their lips at slim young hips. Oh yes, they're riding the crest, but watch this space for their final disgrace. When they've had their turn, they'll crash and burn and come whimpering on their knees. You'll see, back to department store society. All hail, says Hetty, to the rising star. All hail, says Winnie, that girl will go far. She'll fail, says Sissy, be sure to mark my words. Just be sure to mark my words. The Hannigan Hags don't like it if anyone brags of being prepared to dare to climb the stair and venture into the world out there. Fair is foul and foul is fair, no call for change or mixing with strangers. Stay with us for the rest of your days while your hair turns grey and your future sags and the long day drags into longer night. You'll be safe in department store society. Stay in department store society.
I believed them. When they huddled round their she-mail and Hello magazine every lunch break in the staff canteen, raising their eyebrows at her from EastEnders with extensions to her house and hair and her hoisted cheeks, her indifferent cockapoo and kitchen in industrial chic, Winnie tromboned her reading specs and muttered with vicious gloom, "Thinks her body every self because she's got a dressing room." Hetty slurped her Nescafe and said, "Pride comes before a fall," with more glee than alarm, and Sissy nodded from one to the other, turning about and winding up the charm. And I believed those secret midday hags. I thought, I know my place. I deserve nothing else. And one day I'll be the fourth hag around shemale, around hello, murmuring, moaning, intoning and stirring their cauldron of curses and jealousies, half-truths, whole lies and evil spells. Look at that. I haven't done that for a while. It's something I did a lot as a child. Sometimes I'd get a whop round the back of the head and stop, you'll wear down the skin, and then when there's nothing left to hold them in, your insides will fall out like spaghetti and string. Sometimes, though, it's just nice to feel the touch of a hand, even if it's your own. We all need a hug sometimes. We cuddle the cat, the teddy. I've been known to give the fridge an affectionate pat. That's fine. Don't worry. Be forgiving. Be kind. They weren't kind. The hags. They were judge and jury, pointing their chappy fingers in fury at anyone happy, sweet-natured, curious, anyone like Beth. She arrived like a southerly gale one Monday after the spring sale. We'd priced the stock down, but the profits were dire, so we called it New Season and priced it higher. It made little difference how we described it, spring or summer, no one would buy it. Anyway, it was Monday, shop quiet as death, stifled with dust and our own stale breath, and across that carpeted wasteland, in strode Beth. "Hi, I'm the new assistant," she declared. The hags affronted scowled at her instead. Her only sin was a breezy grin, a friendly face, a lifted chin. But that was sin enough. This girl had dared to flaunt her self-assurance in the hag's own lair. Be careful, just a word of advice, that's all. Be careful, don't fall. But Beth wasn't careful. Nothing daunted, she swept in and practically flaunted her fresh youth. She thought the hags and their mags were daft. She looked at them, turned to me and laughed. And suddenly the things I'd found a trial became a gift to make her smile. We laughed through every coffee break and lunchtime. In every dull event we found a punchline. The head accountant with his treble chin, or Sissy's bid to get the final ginger thin. If Beth was on the beauty till, she'd text an SOS. "I'm going to kill a regular if I don't get some chocolate cake." And I'd reply, "I'm going on my break. I'll get some cake for you. See you in the loo at 25 to 2. Sometimes she'd text a mile-long chat, or sometimes, "How's it going?" Only that. In-jokes, silliness, observations on the world or Winnie's dress. We meant no harm, we never meant to injure any feelings or offend. It was nothing. It was everything. I had a friend. I was happy, but also fearful, sure that the hags would give her an earful. But they tutted and muttered their shouldn'ts and shoulds, then scuttled away into household goods. Be careful, Beth. Take care. I've never been one of the gang. To any of you out there who fill the spare corners at parties, I see you. arranging your face to say, I don't need your pity, I'm actually very busy, lots of important things on my mind, just drifted over here for a moment of me time. I know you. I am you. I feel your pain. So it was nice for a while to have a friend. I could have a giggle with Beth. We laughed about the hags, we laughed about the regulars, Mrs. Bostock, who always had some weird request. Have you got any double-sided tape and tassels? Ken, the widower who came in every Thursday and stroked the china dogs. On the rare occasions when a genuine customer wandered in, like a fly blundering into a spider's web, Beth was a revelation. Sweet, helpful, professional, efficient. She made sales. In Hannigan's that was a rare thing, and eventually she caught the eye of Mr. King.
Mr. King, ruler of all he surveys, and all he surveys is Hannigan's. 3 creaking floors of knick-knackery and geejaws, a dark corridor of offices and stores. Around it he shuffles with his question mark spine, querying how quickly he can get past the line of deference ahead and insolence behind. Good morning, Mr. King. You're looking very well. Not dead yet, then. But how can you tell? Poor Mr. King, his fiefdom is all that he knows. There's nowhere to go but Hannigan's. Rattles through China, wheezes through stationery. The lift coughs him up, floor by floor, then spits him out at his office door. Safe in his den with the apples of his eye, his only secret pleasure since suspender belts passed by. Bang goes the door, and click goes the lock. If Mr. King is needed, you're going to have to knock. If you listen, you can hear him having gossip and lolls with his highly prized collection of ventriloquist dolls. Mr. King abandoned his wife. Mr. King recreated his life. Mr. King had made his choice to listen only to Mr. King's voice. So he sits in his office, perfecting his art, speaking wooden words from a wooden heart. The square jaw clacks, the blind eye blinks, and hey, whispers Beth, don't you sometimes think Mr. King is becoming a dummy too? With side-to-side eyes of watery blue, and lines that sag from mouth to chin. So tell me, who's operating Mr. King?
Mr. King was a topic of lunch break discussion. How did he end up here? Beth said. What was he like when he was young and handsome, passionately in love with Mrs. King? You're a people person, Beth, I said. You should run Hannigan's. You'd make it work, make it slick, because you know which boxes people need to tick. If you were the Hannigan's Queen Bee, Beth, would you promote me? Of course I would. You'd be my number 1. Which department would you like to run? I'll pension off Hetty and Sissy, and Winnie can handle the bargain basement bin. And bit by bit, day by day, a little voice began to say, why not? Why not? If Mr. King's voice stopped in his throat and they found him among his mannequins who sat calmly watching the managers, panicking, whimpering, who else is going to run Hannigan's? Those dolls, Mr. King's companions in death, would surely think if they could, why not Beth? Beth laughed. Nice thought, but I think you'll find Mr. King's alive and kicking. Still, never mind. But Beth, I said, Mr. King doesn't have to drop dead or even retire to make room at the top. This shop is drifting. We need someone to steer it while he's up there practicing bottles of gear. Appraisals, promotions, slow progress, forget it. The prize is there now. Go up there and get it. Do we breed all the leaders from a seed of innate superiority? No! Yet all the loudest voices seem to shout out in natural authority, don't they? Well, don't they? Well, I've got news for you, girl. It's time for us to lose that view, so take it, break it, kick down the door and show them what your brain is for. Booming and brash, they think accumulating cash is what it's all about. Never stop to wonder if the people that they plunder might begin to doubt them and flout them. Let's change the rules of the game, girl. Too many have abused their claim, so stake it, make it, shake up the system and they'll soon get the gist, I'm sure. So let them know what you can do. Cook-a-choo, cook-a-choo, ka-choo-ka-doo-ka-doo-ka. That's right, you're following my drift. So turn the tide, make them step aside for you. It's time for them to shift. If I had just a fraction of your energy, charisma and ability, I'd be taking action, I would yell and sizzle with virility. But that's not me, so you're striding up to the foreground. The lift rises to the topmost floor, so take it, press all the buttons and achieve it. Believe it, you can fulfill it, if you will it, just take it. Barnaby Banks was the head accountant, he of the 3 chins. Yes, I can't deny we did make fun of him. But Banksy was a decent sort, a good guy, loving husband, proud father, hard-working and shy. And every so often he'd stop for a natter as he passed by on his way to Top Corridor. We used to try and tease tidbits of gossip from him. So, Barnaby, why is Mr. King always holed up in that office? Come on, don't lie to us now, Banksy. Do you think he's a spy? And Banksy would blush and giggle with us, but I could tell the man was worried from the trembling triple chins. Business was hardly booming and things were going from bad to worse. He looked on Mr. King's eccentricities, his ventriloquist shenanigans with a troubled eye. So one day, when Beth was in the storeroom to replenish old stock, I had a chat with Banksy. I said, "You're the rock this business rests on. I don't know what we'd do to keep life and limb together if it wasn't for you." He sighed and smiled and said, "Thanks, but I'm just an old crock who adds and, in the main, subtracts the figures. If I'm the rock, it's the one where this business founders and is wrecked." I nodded sympathetically and said, "If you ask me, what we need is a figurehead who's not completely crazy and half dead, someone attractive, charming, a politician, in effect, who wins round investors and bankers and all the other moneyed wankers and gives you a more exalted position that allows you to do your job and make decisions." And Banksy laughed. "Oh, sure, as if, I wish." But I could tell my lure had snagged this fish. In my bedsit after work, munching beef jerky and salty snacks and drinking vodkas or rum and blacks, Beth and I sat on the bed and groaned and shrieked over videos on her phone, YouTube guides, hints and tips. How to speak without moving your lips. We used old socks as practice puppets and laughed to the verge of throwing up. And then one day, Mr. King, tottering up to his cave, with watery eye and perfunctory wave, past members of staff surreptitiously yawning, then snapping into smiles. "Mr. King, good morning." Then suddenly, in housewares, before bric-a-bracs, Mr. King faltered and stopped in his tracks as an egg whisk exclaimed, "Good morning to you." Then a cheese grater chimed in, "And from me too." A sieve cried, "I do hope your day's not too strained." A colander noted that he looked rather drained. Look at Mr. King. His eyes went pop,
We watched open-mouthed in case he might drop. "Whose voice am I hearing?" his old voice croaked. "The kitchen cabinet," a ladle joked. Then I gave Beth a nudge and she stepped out of line. "Sorry, sir. Voice throwing is a passion of mine. I wish I knew someone with real command of the art, someone who'd take me in hand and teach me, maybe twice a week, to work hard and harder till I reach the peak." Silence. The staff all gawped and stared. Mr. King stood swaying slightly and glared. We'd planned and rehearsed it assiduously. Was it all for nothing? He turned on his dodgy knee and beckoned to Beth. "Miss, come with me." Bang went the door and click went the lock. No calls and no appointments, and make very sure you knock. Beth was his companion for a twice-weekly tryst, learning the techniques of a ventriloquist. First, Beth sat on Mr. King's lap to learn how to prattle while shutting the trap. Summer withered and autumn fell. By the time we were ready to sell the same stock, labelled Christmas Special and Ding Dong Merrily in Santa's Dell, Mr. King was sitting on hers. She turned his head, worked his jaw, and pretty soon changes began to occur. At first she consulted me, asked my advice, and I didn't need to be asked twice. "We're overstaffed," I said, "everywhere you look, an assistant is hovering there. Vacant brain and a vacant stare, offering service to empty air. Why not persuade Mr. King that one good assistant per department will get the job done?" So the axe dropped, half the staff chopped, and when she'd started, she couldn't be stopped. Out went Sissy, I urged her on, and 2 days later Hetty had gone. And still it went on, this hailstorm of sackings, lingerie, toiletries, postage and packing. Gloves got the elbow, shoes got the boot, beds were stripped, household plants uprooted, electrical goods were all discharged, and greeting section were given their cards. Alarms and security went off duty, things turned ugly in hair and beauty. Still the axe dropped, more staff chopped, skincare was scrubbed, and trousers were cropped. We lost the humans, we gained the machines. You could serve yourself at the till or canteen. Word got about that you needn't speak. Customers were pouring through the doors within a week. No human contact, Hannigan's was jam-packed. I noticed that Beth didn't text me as much. No more tea and lulls, we were losing touch. Whack, whack went the axe, and I started to suspect if I didn't look out, my head would be next. When the game stopped, when the bubble popped, when the axe dropped. One day I went up to the top floor and into the office without knocking the door. Beth was sitting at Mr. King's desk signing papers. 6 grotesque ventriloquist dolls watched from their chairs. At first I thought Mr. King wasn't there. Then I saw the twitch of a plaster eye, heard the faint echo of a rusty sigh. Of the 6 figures slumped against the wall, Mr. King was the biggest dummy of them all. Have you ever felt taken for granted? Has it ever really struck you that others get the limelight and luck while you watch from the wings, having done hard work? All my life I've watched others find fortune and fun while I've made do with the occasional one-night stand in an alley by the service door, where I've given suck to make him want me more. Thanks to me, Beth now ran the whole operation.
Not that half-wit hermit with a dummy fixation. My plan had succeeded. But suddenly, Beth seemed to have forgotten me. Beth introduced Mr. King to the world of modern technology, showed him how it works in the online community, how Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter have made human nature no worse but no better. She showed him the way in this day and age voices can be thrown and thrown on again, all over the globe, misconstruing, mocking, making merry over Mr. King and his captive mannequins. She explained how poisonous those voices could be, what viral devastation they could bring, and finally Mr. King did the sensible thing and made Beth sole proprietor of Hannigan's. Our ally Banksy had backed us all the way. We were the three musketeers, Beth, Banksy and me. Banksy made it all work. Redundancy packets, new equipment, new stock, and for us, big new wages for dragging the shop out of the dark ages. Good old Banksy. Then came the suggestions. Blackmail sounds so seedy, that led to the signing of the deeds. Banksy was shocked. As far as he knew, Beth's elevation was totally out of the blue. Delegating management was one thing. That was needed, my God, but signing over Hannigan's lock, stock and barrel? Now that was odd. Banksy started asking questions. His size nines trod on dangerous ground. He began to prod and pester. Beth, one-person execution squad, struck again, and it was Banksy's head that rolled. Poor sod. When the axe dropped.
It's a short step from job to jobless. Oops, it's gone. The breakfast rush, the quick lick and brush and commuter crush, the fleeting greetings and tedious meetings, the worry and flurry and hurry up eating. All gone, replaced with an endless hush. You check your watch and 10 more minutes gone, and still the daylight stretches on, and you think, might as well have a drink. It's a short step from a drink to legless. Oops, you're gone. A breakfast lush. It's just a quick tipple. Don't make a fuss to finish the bottle. No need to discuss it. I've not had enough. Don't look at me like that. Oh, go and get stuffed. She's gone to her mum's. Well, maybe it's best that way, with nothing coming in and the bills to pay. Best not to think, just one more drink. It's a short step from home to homeless. Oops, all gone. You pack your life in a wheelie case and doss with your friends till you can't face them anymore. So you take your place in a shop doorway while you sort out your head and find your way. You haven't washed, you need the loo. You've got no cash, your coat's wet through. Maybe someone can spare a quid, though it's all cards now and you never did like to beg for favours. You're tired, you stink, you wait till darkness falls and you shrink into the shadows for a drink.
Looking up from his pavement pitch, Banksy could see the window blind twitch in the top floor office. and Beth's pale features, and all around her a cluster of staring creatures, wooden, inscrutable, watching him. He thought one of them might once have been Mr. King. Beth didn't like to see Banksy there, clutching his sodden duvet and his despair around him, so she installed a new security guard, who was called upon to parade up and down like a Hannigan's bouncer. If some poor beggar asked for a light, he'd pounce, and grasping the victim by waistband and scruff, frog march him off the block with a gruff, "On your way you go, old son," then wiping his hands of him, "Good job done." One day, an announcement went up on the staff room board. No more cuts! The shop could now afford to move on to the next phase of development and create an online presence. All the staff said, "Great! It's high time we joined the 21st century." Of course, it would put an end to their jobs eventually, but most of them were the kind who'd vote for austerity, staring down the barrel of a gun, but too dense to see. To celebrate our new ethereal existence, Beth announced a staff party with bar and refreshments. The shop was shut early and decked with fairy lights, and tables were laid out with fancy bites. Music blared from the tannoys, and presently an impromptu disco started in perfumery. Beth appeared, like the Lady of the Lake, with Mr. King clunking in her wake. She did the rounds, pressed the flesh and beamed. Someone curtsied on impulse. Everything seemed to be going well when suddenly Beth raised a trembling finger and whispered, "See that? Look!" Her eyes were wide with horror. We turned to the window. No one. Half in sorrow, half in jest, I said, "It's your wild fancy, but that's what you'd expect from a visionary." The party went on. Beth shrugged and said, "You're right. It's the stress of the job," and her smile was relaxed and bright. But still, she kept checking, looking out into the dark rain for the gaunt and ragged figure at the window pane. Stop it!" My therapist told me it's displacement activity, and she said I shouldn't be surprised if it re-emerged sometimes, particularly when I'm under pressure or feeling vexed. It doesn't happen much, but then I don't often talk about what came next. Hannigan's the website went live. Sale figures leapt, stock went flying from the warehouse we kept in an ex-mining village on a motorway junction with no population and no other function. Hannigan's the shop was no longer needed. Hannigan's the bricks and mortar, glass and leather and wood, was an oddity, a fantasy, a relic, unloved, unheeded. Beth made a deal with developers who could turn a shop into urban dwellings worth $1 million or more before the homeless could get a reeking foot in the door. She did it off her own bat. She never even said, not a word of thanks, not a word of credit. Without me, she'd still be on the shop floor, a sweet little airhead with no more vision than the end of the afternoon and the weekend piss-up at Wetherspoons. So, she'd used her sexuality to carry out our plan, and now she was acting like a macho man, brushing me aside without so much as "excuse me." Well, I'd had enough. No more timidity. No more living down to expectations. Unsex me. Have you ever been a doormat? Do any of you know what it is to be walked over, overlooked, keeping your opinions to yourself while your ideas are set on someone else's shelf? Yes. And they do appreciate you. They love you all to bits. Good old you. Why, what would they do without you? Wipey shoes. Then off they go to mingle with the singles and the flirts while you hold their dirt. Well, no more.
and stoic and maintaining your grace, where you're learning lightly just to save her face. No more holding it together while she gets the back slap. I'm not taking any more of that crap. It's not about being like a man or girl power, gay, straight, gender neutral, he, she, who I think I'm meant to be. No, it's not the jealousy, anxiety, the weighing of the measuring, the checking and the assessing how I'm dressing or expressing sexuality. I am more than my body. I am more than what you hear or what you see. Unsex me! Unsex me! I'm breaking out of these chains. I'm taking charge of these brains. I'm shaking up that tree to bring those fruits to me. Unsex me! Unsex me! Unsex me!
Okay. Since the shop had had its day, I thought I'd help it on its way. My plan was simple and foolproof. I went up the fire stairs to the roof. The shop beneath me was full of stuff that would catch straight away. That place would go up like thatch. I had a small can of oil. I saturated the tiles and guttering. Then I lit the match. The fire crept timidly at first, licking the panelling, quenching its thirst, travelling the staircase floor by floor, tasting curtains and cushions, and then with a roar devouring every stitch and display in the store, and finally racing along top corridor, guzzling up Mr. King's old wooden door, watched by the unblinking dummies as it crashes in and reduces each one to a heap of ashes. So Hannigan's went up in a roaring sheet of flame, with me on the roof. I was playing a dangerous game. But come on, you know me, and I know where to slip quietly onto the emergency stair. By the time the fire caught, I'd reached the ground and nipped through the alleyway safe and sound. I saw Banksy there with his bundle and cup of coins. He winked and gave me the thumbs up. OK, so they caught me. That's a shame. I did my best to shift the blame. After all, it saved the developers a pretty pound when that old dump was burnt to the ground. And as they'd been quick off the mark to ensure it, if they'd known what I'd planned, they'd have been all for it. As for Beth and the Hags, let's just say we lost touch. I don't know where they went, and I don't care much. In fact, I regret nothing. Except for one thing. They still haven't found Mr. King. The old codger simply vanished from sight and hasn't been seen again since that night. Still, there's something positive in every situation. I served my time, and as rehabilitation I took online courses in mindfulness, learned to think positively, find a plus for every minus, a lining of silver for every cloud. So, equipped with the skills for a blogging career, I left my old self and her violent hands on the past its date shelf. And here I am, unsexed, unchained. My freedom and self-respect regained. Now, how did I get so sidetracked? Look how the time has flown by. It seems too soon to be saying goodbye. I got waylaid by reminiscence and confession. But never mind, I'll see you at our next session. And here's a word of wisdom from my heart to your ears. The most worthwhile power is over your fears. Chin up, stand tall, and face the day. As some bloke said, where there's a will, there's a way. Bye for now. See you soon. And remember, when you want to set the world on fire, when you discover they're all hypocrites and liars, keep up the fight and I might have a lighter I can lend you. You'll rise from the embers just like Lady Anne. Till the next time, bye!